Next up at UFC Austin, we have Drakkar Klose taking on Joe Solecki. What a handsome man in that picture. Drakkar Klose, 13-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off the decision win over Rafa Garcia. He's taking on Joe Solecki, 13-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. He's coming off that submission win over Carl Dayton III. I can't not say his name like that. Drakkar Klose, very inconsistent, as far inactive, but very good. He's a great wrestler, or a very, very good wrestler. It depends what level we're talking about. He was a high school state champion wrestler. He used that wrestling offense in his fights, but he does have some issues defending takedowns. He can be taken down, but he has solid boxing, good power. And a few years ago, if you remember, he was working his way up the ladder, had the good wrestling, had the good striking, was becoming somebody, was supposed to fight Jeremy Stevens, probably a changing of the guard type fight. Jeremy shoved him at the weigh-ins, it tweaked his neck, and he was out for a year because of that and a few other things going on. And he says in interviews to this day, he'll talk about, I've got some permanent injuries from that. He's taking on Joe Solecki, another young prospect. Good grappler. He leans heavily on his wrestling, good takedowns. He's a slick guy in the ground, and he really makes things happen with pressure and transition. He's got solid hands, clean boxing, and it's not just there to set up takedowns. He will stand and trade with you, but if he's trading with the wrong people, he will get picked apart. His striking is not great, but he uses it well enough to get you comfortable striking before he's going to work in the wrestling. Both of these guys are a couple of wins away from a potential ranking. They're very good fighters. And if you run through their UFC records, they're pretty good UFC records. They're not getting smoked. They fought decent levels of competition. Drakkar Klose just beat Rafa Garcia. Rafa was able to take him down a few times, but Drakkar was able to control the striking, make stuff happen, and his hands looked really good. I think that's this fight. I think Drakkar Klose is going to win this fight pretty much the exact same way. But Joe Solecki's good. Joe Solecki's dangerous, and if he fights a perfect fight with nonstop wrestling, Joe can win this fight. I am on the Drakkar slide. I am on the Drakkar side.
It's not a slug fight.
I am on the another
you
interruption.
Said, no, bring that attitude again and see what happens.
What could first of all, you and I we're scheduled to fight on February 9th, and I know you keep hoping that I forget and the community forgets, but February 9th. Jacob and I are fighting.
Trust me.
And if you're wondering if I'm going to put it together, I am going to go buy an at-home wrestling mat, throw it in my garage, and beat your ass on it. And we'll live stream it.
Oh, it's a wrestling match.
No, I just want a soft surface for your head to bounce off of.
You couldn't.
I picked your car. Who do you think wins, Jacob?
You couldn't handle my range. I wouldn't
Okay.
blame you.
Well, we're going to find out. We don't need to talk hypotheticals. We're going to find out February 9th.
Oh, we're going to find out.
Yeah, I don't know what stupid trick you have up your sleeve that you're going to try to weasel out of this.
Snap your stupid fucking arm in half. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
okay.
You're
about to lose both your ACLs. I won't have to do anything.
Sure.
Just move out of the way once, and you're going to be like Vince McMahon
Sure.
when he runs down the fucking runway and jumps into the ring and blew both his quads out.
I'm looking forward
to it.
You can be the funny man. This isn't going to last long. Be the funny man.
Dude, your heart hasn't been over 140 beats a minute in fucking 15 years. You're going to die, Angelo.
Why don't you go ahead and break down this fight?
You're going to die.
Okay.
Look at the panic. Oh, the voice crack. Okay.
Because we all know. I'm actually trying to think of a way that you could save face and not have to do this.
Oh, my God.
I'm that worried for you. It's going to change the whole dynamic of the channel. I'm a little worried for it.
It definitely will.
Yeah.
It definitely will. Dude,
go ahead, break down this fight.
But how crazy would it be if we got on in there and all of a sudden I did some crazy black,
you've been
brown
secretly
belt,
practicing
some crazy fucking transition, like this crazy sweep or something, got your back and you're like, oh no.
Well, your body type, you've never done anything, and that's not an insult. Not everybody's done jiu-jitsu.
I'm a fucking athlete. I've done everything.
Your
what do you mean I haven't
type,
done anything? I've done everything. I play
your
everything.
body type is actually like the trickiest, like these lanky, gangly, flexible guys.
I'm John Jones. I'm basically John Jones.
Okay, can you break down this fight, John?
Yeah. And the reason why I kind of delayed breaking down this fight is because this honestly is the hardest fight for me to break down on this card. I've been back and forth watching film, back and forth and back and forth. And I went with Drakkar Klose in this matchup. And I don't really love it because I know that Joe Solecki, he wants to fight to the ground. He is the grappler in this matchup. He has decent sweeps and stuff as well. So even if Drakkar Klose really kind of, because sometimes, this is why it's so tough. Because if this stays standing, Drakkar Klose should win this fight. If he just keeps this stand, this is almost like not quite the Diego Lopes kind of Pat Sabatini thing where if he stays standing, he can just knock this guy out. It's not quite that cut and dry as we saw, but if he keeps it standing, he should have power, he should have the striking, he should be the better fighter on the feet. I'm not saying Joe Solecki can't strike, but he just strikes to get to the takedowns, right? He wants to force that grappling. And when you watch Drakkar Klose fight, even if he's having success in the striking, he will strike into these big clinch positions and try to force the wrestling because he also wants to wrestle. But his wrestling isn't like wrestling grappling. It's more of just kind of wrestling. So it makes it tough because I don't know if I can trust Drakkar to just strike. I think he is going to go to the wrestling. And if he does use the wrestling and he's able to have success and Joe Solecki starts playing that jiu-jitsu guard game and starts wearing down, I think that Drakkar can maybe control him on the ground, but that's where Joe Solecki wants to be, and he can't have sweeps. And the thing that I worry about the most when I'm watching film, I'm breaking down film, is Joe Solecki is very good at timing takedowns. He's kind of a jiu-jitsu nerd, but he's got good takedowns. He times those takedowns really, really well, and he's very strong with those takedowns. He will duck under pressure with these doubles and singles and really, really cement takedowns. And when you watch Drakkar Klose get taken down in his last fight versus Rafa, it was because he was over-aggressive. There was a lot of over-aggressive striking, going into the clinch position, and Rafa was level-changing, just like Joe Solecki was taking his last opponent down. So sometimes you play 1 + 1 is 2. This is such a close fight, because if Joe Solecki gets a takedown, he gets his dude back, he is high-level enough to submit this guy. So I've picked Drakkar Klose, but I've played it in a way where I'm kind of like hedging on the Joe Solecki side. I picked Drakkar, but this is such a, I don't know. It's a close fight, man.
It's a very, very, very close fight. I agree. Both these guys are it's a great matchup. There's a couple of fights on this card that have great matchmaking. And both these guys I mentioned, I started it with, they're a couple wins away each from being like ranked, and you have to look at them a little closer. And the only reason they're not bigger, quote unquote, names or bigger prospects is because they're not active. These guys don't fight as often as they should be, especially Drakkar. If they were a little more active, I mean, look at Joe. I don't think Joe's lost in the UFC, has he?
Well, people say that he lost that fight versus, what's his name? That was the majority decision or something like that, or split decision, the Alex Silva fight, majority decision. And he lost versus Jared Gordon, a split decision.
Yeah, well, all right. So he's 4-1 or 5-1 in the UFC or something like that. But anyway, my point being, they're both pretty close to being actual prospects.
And his level of competition is beat Austin Hubbard, Jim Miller, Alex De Silva, and Carl Beaton. So
the third.
Deterred.
Anyway, we're both on the Drakkar Klose side. We both agree it is pretty close fight. 8,300 in DraftKings, 7,900 in DraftKings. I don't think that 8,300 in DraftKings is worth it, because Drakkar's not going to get any, I don't think he's going to get a knockout. I don't think he's going to get any takedowns or anything meaningful there. I think he stuffs enough takedowns, controls the striking, looks exactly like that Rafa Garcia fight, and that's not going to score well for $8,300. Meanwhile, if you're on the Joe Solecki side, you expect him to win with grappling, potentially a submission. All of a sudden, that 7,900 is looking pretty good. You agree, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I think the longer this fight goes, it's probably going to favor a guy like Drakkar because, like you said, he's got the wrestling base, and he is a Michigan man, and we know that those Michigan Wolverines beat the absolute piss out of the Ohio State Buckeyes on Saturday. I'm a Michigan fan. I got the little Michigan ducky behind me. Go Blue, baby. We're going to win the national championship this year, and I can't wait. Harbaugh's back, baby.
There you go. Did you see, Portnoy's a big Michigan guy?
Right. Did he go to Michigan, or he's just a fan?
I don't know where that came from. It seems to just be a fan, and it just seemed to start the last.
No, he's been
somewhat
a fan.
recently.
No, he's been a fan. I know.
Maybe it's the rival. Maybe it was all the controversy of the
I think it was
taping of the practices and stuff.
Yeah, for a while it was. It was really tough being a Michigan fan. Since I graduated high school until the last 3 years, because they won 3 in a row now. They had won once in 15 years, 12, 15 years or something. They beat Ohio State once. It was a rough go. So being a Michigan fan was very rough for a while, but they're back now, baby. Ryan Day's a fucking clown. That dude's a fucking pussy.
If you guys want to unlock all the bets, all the picks, our round line leans, our confidence plays, and everything else, go to WeWantPicks.com, click become a member. It is only $10 a month. Jayon asked, why February 9th? I'll tell you why it's February 9th. This all started midsummer, and Jacob picked a date that was, in his mind, so far out that it would never happen and we would forget all about it. And yet here we are.
I picked February 9th. No, I picked it strategically because it's the weekend before Valentine's Day, and I'm going to make everyone fucking fall in love with me.
All right. Good luck. Good luck.
You're gonna
That
need
is why it's.
I don't need luck.
That is why it's February 9th. He picked the farthest possible date, and that's what he ended up with.
Well, the farthest possible date would have been.
Yeah, but it was you're trying to be reasonable about it. Anyway, let's move on.